In this section of the Kestros Alpha tutorial, I'll be showing how to add new variations to an existing component type view. So we already have our button component that's built out, but the styles on it are pretty bland at the moment. So we can go ahead and jump back over to our frameworks and themes. And we know that Bootstrap is the primary provider for most of the styling for our new UI framework. So I'll go into there and then just go to the Bootstrap documentation. And since this is a button component, we can go ahead and just take a look and see if there's anything that we can reuse at this level. So for now, we'll create variations for button primary, button secondary, as well as the button block, which will give us the full width buttons. So if we go back to the component variations page, we can see that there's two types of variations that can be created. Wrapping variations and inline variations. So wrapping variations, the class will get added at the wrapping div level, and then inline variations will be added anywhere that you have the context.inlineVariations property being called. So for this component, it would be getting added at this level. So if we go back to the new view that we've created, we can create a new variations directory. And then we can create directories for any of the new CSS classes that we want to add. So I'll do button primary, button secondary, and button block. Each of these will also need a new .content.xml file. And then over in the Kestros IO documentation, we can actually just grab the configuration template. And that's actually going to be true. So this will be called full width, inline true, and we'll do the same for the others. We'll just call this primary, inline true as well, and then we will call this secondary. So the other thing that we could add to any of these configurations is whether or not we want these to be default variations. So for primary, we'll go ahead and make this default, which means that any button component type that is added to the page and has no variations configured will automatically be given the default variations. So we'll just set that to default equals true. And now we can go ahead and build. And we didn't need to add any CSS or JavaScript for any of these variations because those classes already exist within the Bootstrap framework. If we wanted to create our own custom variations, all we'd have to do is add a CSS folder underneath the variation folder, and then link any of the CSS files to the CSS folders .content.xml, and then just simply add those files in. And they would automatically be appended to the UI framework CSS. So if we go back over to our site, we can see that the button is already given that button primary variation, and then we'll just add in a new button component type, and we can see that when this new component has been added, it does have two validation issues, and we can actually just take a look at that. And the text has not been configured, and neither has the link. So we'll create our new button, And we'll just link this to the Kestros IO site. If we go into styles, we can see any of our variations that we've added. So we'll go ahead and just give this one secondary, and by holding Control, we'll give it full width as well. And then we'll preview. And you can see that we have our new button with the secondary and full width variations, with no real coding needed to be added to actually implement this.